Hi, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. We have a few questions. This was one from Pat Donahue, and she has a question, and it's, can you talk about the idea of the pain of not interfering? Wow. You realize this is sounds like a strange question, but it's a pretty interesting question. If you're sincere in your relationship with really trying to help, our normal rendering of whatever help might mean is involved with kind of a value thing. We want to help when we kind of believe that our version of helping might be helpful. And sometimes it really is, and sometimes it really isn't. The kind of help that we've been talking about, generally speaking, seems, the kind of help that most of us have second thoughts about whether it might be valuable or not. And that it relates to kind of a trusting that is very, very difficult for us. We're, in a kind of a way, we're set up to, in our lives, to focus on and engage with a trust within ourselves for ourselves. And this is kind of a cultural thing, and it's kind of something that we engage with because our life experience kind of pushes us in that direction. And I can understand how difficult that would be if we start thinking in terms of not interfering in another person's life based on what we think we are capable of doing personally for that other person. So really, right off the bat, there are things that we can do that might be helpful. Individually, physically, sometimes emotionally, we can listen, we can understand, we can try to make some sense of things. We can be quiet. We can engage in such a way so that the individual uses us like a sounding board. It's very difficult for us, and we often divert from that based on the fact that something is touching us internally by the expression of an individual who's involved in some rendering of pain or difficulty in their lives. And it does touch us. Very difficult. As we grow or begin to grow, we begin to realize that sometimes our version of attempting to be helpful may not be the help that the individual needs. And sometimes it really is. See the dichotomy. It occurs everywhere. So it's very contextual, this business of help and this business of understanding. Many of us are just capable of understanding relative to our version of how we've engaged with life ourselves. So it makes it very difficult for us because we're constantly engaged with recognizing, perhaps, relatively speaking, how we would engage if we were in the same situation. We come up with ideas, and it's really not exactly something that might be helpful, but sometimes it can be. A person living in something is often very difficult than a person considering how they're living it. It's a real key thing. Very difficult to engage in a manner where true understanding is actually there. But we have reactions to those that we care for. And strangely enough, we care for a lot of people. And that's a good thing. It means we're more vulnerable to attempting to engage with someone that might be having difficulty internally, not necessarily externally, because we don't really know what to do. Where you might be helpful, attempt to do that. However, there is a thing that relates directly to attempting to help people on a personalized level. For example, if you are attempting to use energy to help another, you may not be helpful. That's honest. You may be versioning a relationship with helping that relates directly to engaging in a manner that transmits your personalized style. Now, I'm using that in that form. Our dilemma would be, if you're really sincere, you would not want to transmit personally energy into a person that would be more harmful. And in fact, you really don't know how that other person is engaging. So this makes it even more difficult. So trying to honor your relationship with someone that may need a lot of help doesn't really need to engage the way you think that help, or whatever help, might be clear to you and in your mind. That is, you're dealing with sending energy the way you might deal with something, and it's only a proposal. You don't know how you would deal with situations under those conditions. You can only anticipate. And that is part of our difficulty in relating to, let's say, higher states. We even anticipate what we believe our perceptions would tell us about how high those levels would be. And we engage with that, very personalized. If our ego self, or the form that the images that we use within ourselves to protect ourselves, and to make images of how we think we are or not. Those images are just images that can be transmitted through, and you can act out or engage with life with them. You are used to them, so you can't really see them that clearly. And you might want to think that those are perfect images. None of our images are perfect, and that's just reality. So I suggest in those places that we all need help. We would want for that person or people that we might feel caring for, love for. We would want that they would be helped in a way that would be helpful to them in them, through them. In other words, not in how we think it should be, but how it would really be. This is very difficult for us because we don't think that way. Therefore, we're at a loss in a kind of a way. So we do tend to do things the way we want to do them, no matter what. So, in the kind of work that we're attempting to do is kind of strange in a way. When you're thinking of higher states, it would be idealistic in a way to think that whatever happens through us is perfect, because we still have a caring for that person. We're going to interfere with it. It's the way it is. So, fundamentally, in your secret self, the one that you don't want anybody to know about, you ask for help in a way that would be helpful for that other person. Not to fulfill some sense of value in yourself. And this is very difficult for us because we have bigger hearts than we believe we have. Because we look at those hearts on an ego base or an image-based process. It's the nature of what is functional here on these planes. We cultivate through our family backgrounds, through our belief systems, whatever they may be, as we grow up into an adult form, which may not act like an adult. If you look at maturity as adulthood, my God, no offense to anybody, but we're all imperfect. Therefore, and we don't even know what a perfect person would be, but we have renditions in our mind about what that would mean. And then we have reflexes on top of that we have expressed through us, thing we call a personality, or the ego form, which is basically what that is. And it has images in the background about how you think you are. And you may not be like that. But we don't want to know exactly what that means. So we're also brought up to defend that structure. And we're also brought up to engage in the way that others in our sociological systems believe might be the most important way to be. And they are not always very clear, succinct. They're often just available as natural, normal reflex because it's how you identify and translate those systems. We don't often go into a place within ourselves where we say, don't let me interfere with any help that could be available for someone, because it's an automatic feature. We interfere all the time. And this is a system that we have where interference is characterized by an engagement that we have with the thing that we call a personality's version or someone else's version of how you should be. Whatever that is imaged there, and we value that. We don't even understand that we're valuing something that in a moment may not be valuable. But it's the only thing we have. So that's what we use, and that's what we do. So to engage and ask that within ourselves, you're talking to whatever you would call it. If you're a Christian background. If you're a Hindu background, you're doing that. If a Buddhist background, you're doing whatever that may be. And others, Taoist background, whatever it would be. All of those systems are impressed by features that relate to the physical form. Features that relate to a way of being, which includes a materialistic background, science and all the rest of it, that may be constructed within you and then defended within you for the purpose of being more right than somebody else's method. We're complicated in this stuff. I wish we could understand that sometimes. But another complication occurs. How is it possible to engage with the higher states on these levels that may be helpful in a way that might truly be helpful, rather than looking for a result that is exactly the way you believe it should be to be helpful? This is really hard for us. And I understand the dilemma, because recognition for asking for help for somebody doesn't exist under those premises in relationship to other human beings, unless you open your mouth and you tell everybody this is what I do and how important I am because I do it. This is the nature of that ego self, or that shape that we have constructed for the purpose of being valued, because we're desperately afraid that we won't be valued. Puts us under great vulnerability if we do not protect that. So that is the thing that interferes. Physically, if a person needs help, sure, engage. Emotionally, engage the way you think you can be helpful. Mentally, the same way, because in fact, what that really does at this level in our relationship with this life, that really does something that helps you, the asker, to feel more comforted by an engagement with life. And it tells you you're doing something. And we need that reassurance. It's where we are. If you put much thought on this, as Pat's question implies, then it's tremendous vulnerability. But it doesn't mean you don't do anything. Because you do what you do, basically, from where you are right now in your internal development, or your external development. It's a very, very difficult question to answer in an honest way. I'm trying to be as honest with respect to each and every one of us human beings as we engage with considering and attempting to understand humanity as it is versus humanity as a competing bunch of elements, which it is, that relate directly to individuals being more important than other individuals. This is a flawed way of looking at things in a kind of a way. Yet we all have pieces and parts of that. Therefore, we are young. Young, not bad, and not good, or better than other people. We're just young, and we're learning. It takes a tremendous amount of willingness to understand others and how they function within themselves. If you cannot allow yourself to be okay with learning about you, other than our infantile engagements with being better than other people, different than other people, extremely more valued than other people, all that is just things that we relate to on the materialistic plane. For example, 4 cars rather than 2, this amount of money versus that, these marks versus those marks. This is how we're trained. It doesn't mean these are markers of a being of consciousness, because they're not. Could they be? Perhaps. If there's a showcase and you believe that you're part of the showcase of being the most important person in the world, you'll have your renderings of how to do things and how not. You will make mistakes still, because you are still part of this form, this level of function. Be okay with it. The pain of not being able to help someone and feel good about it, or not even that, even not being able to help someone because you don't know what to do, that one's difficult too. Love them the best you can in a way that relates to caring for them and asking for a deeper level of love to be helpful. It doesn't always end up perfectly. None of us understand this engagement with higher state flow perfectly. Emphasis on that word. But we have dialogues. And slowly we begin to look at those dialogues. And if we're fortunate, we begin to realize how difficult it is sometimes on these planes to comply and engage in ways that sometimes make no sense. But it's just the way things are in these levels. Now it sounds like as if that might be putting down personality traits, personality versions of engagements with others. Unfortunately, one could say that if you look closely at every human being, there is love inside of them for them. A version, somehow, that is more important than others' versions of what they seem to be to them. This is what everybody has. You can see that every day of your life if you're paying attention. But the preference is not to see that. The preference is to elevate your own image of or structure, because the vulnerability that lies within you is quite strong or broad. I don't know how to say that as well. We are all vulnerable. And the more vulnerable you are, the more important you become. Yeah, that's what I said. But we are truly all vulnerable. And that vulnerability makes us quite human and constantly engaged with trying not to perceive it. And this is difficult for us. So we paint pictures of images that help us not to see the reality of that form because it's too hurtful. In this particular question, the vulnerability level is intermittently high. What I mean by that is, if you take your attention off of something that's bothering you just for a few seconds, you are less vulnerable. And then you move back onto it. And then move it away and move back onto it. You realize that often there's nothing that you can do that would be helpful to you under those conditions, let alone anyone else. But to be a truly good friend, you can attempt to understand where that vulnerability might be for you when it's in another. And when you ask for help for someone else, keep you in the picture, asking for help for you in a way that if anything of yours is transmitted in that direction that might not be helpful, that you are helped so that you don't transmit that. And you do the best you can with it, knowing that you're imperfect. Because pieces of you will want that person to be this way, or this way, or that way. It's just the nature of all of us. That's food for thought, from my point of view. There's the other idea of interference. I've got to bring that up because it's in a very broad picture. We, in our world, our particular place in relationship to life, how we think, how we react, how we engage with others, how we relate physically to others. That includes the verbalizations and the things that come up in your mind that you want them to be like so that they could be nicer, or you could be nicer, whatever it may be. When you're looking at this from a positive point of view, and here's the positive structure, maybe you can see something in that might be positive. I do. I see something very positive in that. As vulnerable and imperfect as I am, as anyone might be, that imperfection, if noticed by you at least a little bit, and I said a little bit, in a sincere manner, not so you can tell other people how unable you are or whatever, because that's just the same old stuff. Seeing you and trying to do something slightly different. It's not going to be perfect. That's a guarantee. Because it doesn't work that way. Because those forms, those imagery forms, they stick with you and you use them someplace else. Engage with them the best you can and go slow. See when you can't comply with helping you. See it. Don't judge it. You see, we're trained to judge this stuff in other people. So we'll judge it in ourselves. But see it the best you can. And do your best to say, wow, this is how it works here. What does that mean? It means that others do the same thing in different places. It's not devaluing anything. It's saying, this is what happens here. It's part of the human condition currently. Currently. The species itself, the human condition itself, has many phases. And those phases are often shifting and turning, changing, hiding in such a way as to not let the one who's cultivating those phases, has cultivated those phases, to even notice that they're there. Because those phases come together in a significant manner that allows them to be okay in their lives according to them. If you judge too harshly, it's ineffective. You're not helping yourself. But if you consider how these systems form, and I'm not only talking about parents, I'm talking about hurts and pains in your life, loving in your life, whatever definition you've acquired through your backgrounds. But remember, your background has acquired them through a background, another background, another background, another background. Vulnerability is strong on this planet. So we have to set up a form, a mask, like the old Greeks used to talk about. So you can, under certain circumstances, use a mask that helps you feel okay. You have a right to feel okay. It's a little harder when you're making other people not feel okay. And that can happen anytime, in ways that you don't even know, because of the vulnerability of another. All right, keep that in mind. And now take a look at the species. You give to the species a way that you believe, personally, you need to be. You give that to the species. So it is, and you've heard this before, 8 billion plus folks are doing all the time. And you have many who are similar to you. And this is important to remember. At least as a possibility. You don't have to believe all this stuff. This is just the way I see it. And I'm sure others have seen this and been concerned about this before. We always ache to have others more able than us to be there to help us. There's nothing wrong with that. But we also know that oftentimes there's nobody there. At least that's what we believe or consider. It's not always true if we understand deeper parts of our relationship with higher states. That's my version. The vulnerability that we understand others are a part of if they're capable, and if you're capable, you can learn how to calm down in a way, and that will help others who can't calm down. But remember, they still have the images that are important to them. And they will still be using those images. Excuse me, so will you. Interpretation is really complicated. We all interpret the world and then viscerally engage with the world in accordance with our background music, how we have learned and understood things to be. And this changes because, fortunately, the positive thing is we change. We have similar types of things that go on, but they're little small shifts. And those small incremental shifts are more important than one thing happening and then it's a bonanza and you have reached nirvana. It's not nirvana. It's something that made you feel good for a minute or two. Which means there is something within that is enabling you to know that there is more beyond how you normally see things daily. Personally, I think that makes a lot more sense than having an experience that tells you that you're more superior to everybody else, because that's just normal in our world. When you have a conversation with somebody and you think you won something, you feel kind of elevated. Now, if you're a thinking person, this is not as easy for many of us. You suddenly realize that that other person may be hurting because your version of winning was focused on protecting the state or the images that you have created for the purpose of being valued by others, where you are not valued, unknown to you, really by yourself. You value the images that you portray, that you want to portray, because they seem to work for you in some materialistic way. This is a whole lot to be said, but a question that says something like this: can you talk about the idea of pain, of not interfering? This is a huge question. And a respectful one. Because in a kind of a sense, when we feel that vulnerability inside ourselves that we define as whatever we define it as, pain, inconsequential state where you just can't do anything. That's a reference to the images that we have to ourselves, onto ourselves. We can fill platforms with words, but they don't do anything. They help support a version of calmness or respectfulness to each and every one of us under different circumstances, perhaps. And sometimes they can be helpful, yes. Those words calms us down, helps us to understand. And sometimes it doesn't help us to understand. So this is a question that I think relates, here we go, to love. It's kind of a love quotient. If you have a heart that relates to loving others, you'll honestly find that they cannot be perfect. That causes you pain. The definition of perfection is based on how you would like them to be so they weren't in pain. And this is complicated in us because it bothers us because they are in pain. We feel their vulnerability. And that is our handling of our ability to love another. And this ability to love another is not so easy to handle. Sometimes that is perceived by others, and sometimes it's not. Because it can't be taken in by some, because too much loving means that it's not as trustworthy as intermittent love showing in some way. And then you have the whole thing about definition of what love should look like by each and every one of us, which sometimes is pretty darn comical, and sometimes the opposite, a little bit more sad. Because it's very difficult to allow that to be seen, not in the way we perceive it, but in the way it's given. And it's given when you care for somebody else and they don't care in the right way back. They are loving themselves in such a way as to preserve a sense of them that fit the image of what they can't be yet, but hope to be. And they are defending their love image because they're afraid that if they don't, they are not the person or a person that can be valued. And this is very scary business. Most likely, everyone in their own way has felt that to some degree. Not sure they can remember it, because that will be hidden quickly by some expression of dismissal for their own good, because they can't handle that deeper love very well yet. Just yet. Life is filled with these circumstances. On both sides of the fence. I mean, not only for others, but for you too. I think that's a deep enough question. Thank you, Pat, for that. And once again, blame Pat for this question. But blame her with a sense of loving, because it was a sincere question. And a sense of the fact that we're all a part of that same question. Because we live on this planet. We are human beings. And we function, literally, with strong wills to maintain the image structure that we have. But not only that, is to maintain a sense of being okay enough in our relationship with others on this planet who are like us or similar to us, but in different places. And we do not understand that well. So At this point, since the next question is a little bit lengthy, I think, as well, I think you deserve a reprieve, and I do too. So I think we're going to meditate now. And I wish all of you, hopefully, if you listen to this at some other time, try and see the positive engagement that we have with attempting to be helpful within our relationship with ourselves to others who might be similar to us, when we have little snippets of, gosh, I wish I wasn't quite like that. I wish I could do that a little bit better. I mean, that's a kind way to put it. And try not to miss those things, because there is so much good in all of us. So much ability to love. It's wondrous. So I wish everybody well, and I think Marlene's going to put on some music for us. And loving is not an easy thing. Oh God, I can't stay away from that subject because it's so hard for us. We don't see it's a product of letting go of the images that we bear so strongly in front of us, so that we can't see what's really deeper inside. And it causes us the reflex and the vulnerability, but also a kind of wondrous experience that relates to a moment of this sheer sense of glowing inside. But it provokes emotion. It can make us very vulnerable. And little bits of these kinds of experiences always have an effect on us. So I wish you all kinds of those experiences, as I would wish for myself. Please take care. And I'll see you next week. Hopefully. Take care. Bye now.
Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Om Guru Padma Siddhi Om Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi 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 Om
Now we'll just do the balancing and grounding, and have a good evening, everybody.